Okay, so hello again. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us or staying with us if you have already attended the first session an hour ago. My name is Mirza Salegic. I'm a head of product marketing at Comforte, and I'm very excited to have Michael Horst, our chief architect and co-founder, and Henning Horst, our CTO, with me today to talk about what's new in Tamunio and what it means for you. So in the previous webinar, we explored the bigger picture behind the launch of Tamunio, and now we'll go one level deeper to see what this looks like in practice, to talk about some core new capabilities of Tamunio and the business value it brings in terms of compliance, sovereignty, and operational efficiency. So Michael and Henning will walk us through some of the highlights. But before we start, I would like to point out that just like in the previous session, after the presentation, we'll open up for short Q&A. So if you have any kind of questions during the session, please type them in the chat window and at any time during the presentation, and we'll address them at the end. So, as you have seen in our first session today, our data-centric approach to security is designed not only to protect data, but also to make it truly usable for business growth by securing the data itself, so it remains protected wherever it flows. We aim to help you basically balance those strict security and compliance requirements with the need for data-driven insights and innovation, and that's exactly the vision behind Tamunio. And as you have seen briefly also in the previous session, Tamunio is designed exactly for that purpose. So it's a data-centric security platform that brings together and unifies some of our proven capabilities like tokenization, which many of you already use to protect your sensitive data, with a range of new innovative features and capabilities. Michael, can you please switch to the next slide? Thank you. So it comes with 5 key modules: protect, govern, transit, transform, and access. And together they help organizations improve security, streamline compliance and operational efficiency, while at the same time enabling that secure usage of data for a variety of use cases such as cloud adoption, AI analytics, core banking, or payments, for example. With that, I think we can get started and learn a bit more about what Tamunio can do. So Henning, Michael, over to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mirza. Yeah, so maybe to start kind of peeling the onion a bit more, going into one level deeper on the technical level. So we talked about the Tamunio data security platform. So as its base, as I outlined in the last session already, it's a cloud native platform that can run in the cloud, in hybrid settings, or on your local Kubernetes cluster, if you so desire. There's key capabilities in part of that core foundation. This is especially around kind of the basics, the entry to data-centric security. There is capabilities for protecting in particular certain aspects of, if we look at mission critical systems, or for the HPE non-SOP system, and there is kind of the overall layer of auditing, reporting, and monitoring in a centralized fashion to ensure the full visibility. On top of that, as Mirza already outlined, there are 5 modules. We won't go into all of the details of each of them, but we'll focus on some of the key capabilities that we see. And as I mentioned in the last webinar already, what we do is we'll build this towards the bigger vision and focusing right now, of course, on the foundation, on the core and protect and transit. Those are the ones that we will focus also on the session today. But in a nutshell, kind of on top of the core capabilities, protect will extend that data-centric security, that confidential compute capabilities, broader to the enterprise, various kind of then also bigger scales in enterprises. Transit is intended to help organizations secure data in transit connections with post-quantum secure cryptographic algorithms. So typically that would focus around kind of, for instance, connections to the payment switch like an ACI base 24 or other on the Nonstop platform, connecting those to ATMs in a secure way. Transform is targeting the capability to transform the way how mission critical system, the Nonstop platform can be utilized, how you can get data out of it and utilize, kind of unlock the value that it holds for the bigger enterprise, as we also alluded to really enable that bigger enterprise view. Access will support secure quantum resistant access to these types of mainframe systems, and govern, last but not least, that's focusing around a secure governance for the HP Nonstop platform there. So kind of the overall platform, agnostic. You can run it both on-premise in your Kubernetes cluster, cloud, hybrid. And then on top, we have modules that are also available cross-platform. And then there are a couple of modules that are tailored to certain use cases, especially in the payments world, utilizing the HP Nonstop platform. Now, we would like to look a bit deeper into the key new features that will come out with this release that will be available next week. Some things that are on the close horizon, so for let's say the 2026 first half. So if we look at some of the key capabilities, I'll start with some of the foundation ones that will be part of the Tamunio core. So as we alluded to, we combined the next generation of some of our capabilities with new additional innovative features. One of the new capabilities that we bring here is next-gen cloud-native protection services. So this is really about taking the protection services, or the actual things that do the protection operations, the protection clusters, to the next level in a fully cloud-native, fully microservices-based architecture now. And for the technical folks, the integrations based on gRPC. Then there's capabilities in the core that are more towards that execution environments where you do have to expose sensitive data for the operations purpose, and that will target Nonstop HP Nonstop systems to elevate the capabilities there with a proper multi-factor authentication, which is not really available for the platform yet. And one of the key pain points that we see, sorry for the pun, a unified key and secrets management that will enable and ease the use of keys and secrets in a way easier fashion than it's before. And then I already touched on the unified auditing and monitoring of the platform, not just for a particular platform, but really across that data-centric landscape, so that you can get all of the signals together in one single pane of glass. And of course, also that integrates in whatever monitoring and auditing and kind of a solution for performance monitoring you have. If we look at some of the additional features, some innovations that we'll bring out with this first version, and we'll build on top from there. One of them is really that whole capability around running workloads in a trusted execution environment. So we'll talk some more about that just in a couple of minutes on data sovereignty zones. We also include in that first release of Tomunio additional capabilities for protecting unstructured data. So typically in a data-centric environment, you work a lot of structured data, but there are some use cases where you just have unstructured data. So clear text kind of comments, for instance, and there's capabilities where we leverage AI-powered content-aware unstructured data protection to protect that data, or protecting the full file in an opaque way. And last but not least, the new capabilities include really the full quantum safe protection for the whole platform. So let's jump into some of these features, and let's start with the data sovereignty zones, and hand over to Michael for that.
Thank you, Henning. Yeah, data sovereignty zones. I'm very excited about that. Looking back in my career to the foundation of Comforte. So this is actually, I can rightfully say, the biggest innovation of Comforte's history, and in terms of value generation capabilities for our customers, and even transformative power for how you handle regulated data. And so let's dive a little bit into that. So it's directly addressing actually the challenge we talked about, that you want to innovate fast, but you are locked down by the challenges in the cloud. You lose control of the data. And on the other hand, if you don't use the cloud or AI capabilities, you stay within the limits and you can't innovate fast enough. So we ask ourselves the bold question: how can we actually enable that? That's solving the puzzle, the contradiction between innovation, speed, and security. And the answer is data sovereignty zones. And let's dive into what that means, actually. And I want to illustrate a little bit with an analogy on from the physical world again. So think about an embassy. An embassy is actually a sovereign territory that is implanted basically from a home country into a foreign country. The embassy is fully controlled by the home country. Access is actually controlled, and it provides a safe interaction space. But again, the embassy uses services of the host country, but in a manner that is not compromising any security. So that's a nice analogy, and we transport it into the virtual world and with data sovereignty zones. So basically, a data sovereignty zone is your embassy in the cloud. So it's an environment which is hardened, cryptographically isolated from the cloud provider or the as a service provider. And so that creates this safe interaction space where you can use plain text data in the clear, and where you can basically do that transformation from plain text into placeholders that Henning was alluding in the first webinar, replace it with tokens. So those tokens can then travel safely to services in the cloud where you don't have the confidential compute zones. So there you have de-identified data tokens that can still allow you to analyze it and store data. And so that's basically how we transport this analogy of an embassy into the virtual world using the embassy in the cloud. So what does it mean if we look at the architecture a little bit more closely? So you see on the left-hand side, that's your on-prem home country, basically, with your applications, with your services, your data sources, your source of truth, basically. And you can now move that securely, the data from there, into the highly isolated sovereignty zone in the cloud. So and this is the zone where you can use plain text, and you can transform the plain text safely with highly isolated tokenization services into placeholders, from where the placeholders then can go into an untrusted environment here on the right-hand side, where you only use tokens. So this brings tokenization together with confidential compute capabilities. So that's really a big thing, how you can slice your applications and reduce the scope of regulated data very significantly to a very controlled environment. And this allows you really to do analytics in that safe space where you need the plain text, do analytics where you can do it on token in the untrusted area. You can utilize the cloud service and still stay compliant and without losing control. So that's a very exciting innovation. And this is really, as I said, has transformative power, really for the fast-driven data innovation to move more freely, to unlock the barriers, and I'm really excited about this big thing. And one of the use cases we will dive into is, of course, AI. So back to you, Henning.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Michael. So exactly as Michael pointed out, I mean, with confidential AI, you have exactly that challenge of, okay, you want to use certain data that needs to be in the clear, but there's only cloud services available that really, you want to have that use case in. So that's where data sovereignty zones enable that use case. And this is exactly where you can look at, okay, what makes sense in running in the data sovereignty zones, those applications that actually need to have the clear text values, as we discussed, and those kind of need to be in these trusted execution environments. And one of the first service that we will support with this data sovereignty zone is, of course, actually our own protection services, right? The protection services that operate on creating tokens from plain values or the other way around. They, of course, need to have the clear text value, or they see the clear text value flying by. And so far, that was something where you could run it on premise, or you could say, okay, I run it in my cloud environment, but in the latter case, you didn't have all of the guarantees that actually the cloud provider wouldn't be able to access that data. And that's the first thing with data sovereignty zones, which we will support now with this initial release, but the subsequent ones will really focus on enabling confidential AI inside of that data sovereignty zone. And that's exactly when you need those sensitive data. That's when you could run your private AI services within a data sovereignty zone and ensure that you really that's your embassy in the host country, so you're the only one that can access that. That said, there's, of course, the other side of, when you want to use public AI services, or if you, as we alluded to a bit earlier, the actual data that you want to ingest, you can properly protect before ingesting into that public AI service. And that gets us to another capability that we are now releasing with that new release, is exactly supporting that use case. So the typical use case is, of course, you have some free text with sensitive data, and that could be, if you see on the right, including credit card data or credit card parts of data, addresses, telephone numbers. So basically the full spectrum of personal identifiable information or payment related information. And what you in this case kind of want to do is ingest that in a public AI, for instance, then to also get to scrub the prompt and response towards like a Gen AI chatbot, or for doing like privacy preserving sentiment analysis, where you can really see, okay, it doesn't matter what the actual sensitive data elements within that text is, but I want to analyze what's the sentiment. Was the customer happy, unhappy? Were there indicators that I can kind of provide additional services to that customer, that kind of things. And that's really a key feature to then enabling those use cases. And that's powered by AI as well from our side, so that those sensitive data elements are automatically identified and so detected, and then going into the protection engine to replace them with tokens. So maybe, Michael, let's look into the use case.
Yes. So one of the use cases is actually using public LLMs. And that's a very simple one. Basically, you send a query. We all know that communicating to ChatGPT, and the LLM processes the query and sends a response. Now, for an enterprise, of course, what's depicted as user could also be processes that use that functionality. And and of course, as soon as you enter sensitive information in the query, you get an exposure, and you lose control over the data. And so that introduces a significant risk. And that's one reason why this adoption of LLM usage for regulated industries is slowed down. And of course, it goes further. And of course, to make real value of the LLM service, you need to inject also internal data sources. So where you can create better responses and responses that are exactly tailored to the data that you have in your organization. And so if you have sensitive information with that data, like customer data, credit card numbers, and stuff like that, of course, the risk gets even bigger. So the question is, how can you actually solve that problem? And we can use the AI-powered NER, named entity recognition mechanism, identifying sensitive data in those data streams. And of course, we can de-identify the data from the internal data sources. And by the way, if the internal data sources are already containing tokenized data, that's even better. You don't even need to touch it, because your tokenized data is already being accessed as tokenized data. And of course, in the interaction with the user or with the process, there is a transparent interception point where the data gets de-identified by the net mechanism, parsing basically the query text, and likewise on the response side, parsing the response text to re-identify any sensitive information pieces in there. So that's how it works with LLMs. And the next frontier, over to you, Henning.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Michael. So you will have seen such a picture before. So quantum computers. There's a lot of noise around on quantum computers, and you might ask yourself at some point, okay, well these quantum computers, it will be, they are not there yet, and kind of the threat that they pose, which is that a big chunk of the current encryption algorithms that we use nowadays, especially for in-transit encryption, will get broken once we have a quantum computer. That's the threat. And the question is, of course, well, we don't have a quantum computer that's really fast enough, that's really powerful enough to doing that. Why should I care? And why do regulators care actually right now that you start your journey onto the quantum resistant cryptography? The reason is, if we look to the next slide here, the problem is that there's the threat of harvesting now and decrypting later. So essentially what that means is, yes, there is no quantum computer yet, but the attack that is there right now already is that that threat actors are actually starting to harvest data, the encrypted data. They cannot decrypt it right now, but once the quantum computer becomes available, they can. And that's the threat. So essentially until the quantum computer is ready, everything that's not post-quantum ready yet will have the threat of being decrypted later. So thus, of course, what we are looking in the Tamunio platform, if you advance one more slide here, is that we will build it out for quantum safe encryption and future-proof security. So exactly shielding against that long-lived data from the harvest now, decrypt later threats. It will provide end-to-end coverage. Like the data in use is, the data in transit is typically the thing that people talk about. Like how do I protect my TLS encryption? How do I advance that to quantum safe encryption? And that's of course a very valid thing, and that's what Tamunio will bring as well. But really, the weakest link breaks the chain, and if you store the data in a non-quantum safe encrypted way. So if you, for instance, utilized a tokenization or FPE algorithm that's not ready for the quantum safe future, then you're still not quantum safe. So it's really that end-to-end coverage that we will bring with Tamunio as well. And that includes a fully post-quantum format preserving encryption algorithm that has the performance that you need to actually be usable and at the same time be secure against these future attacks. So let's move to the next.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about key management. I think you all seen this quote before: encryption is easy, but key management is hard. And that's not just a clever statement, it's just a painful truth. Especially also for non-stop operators who know that very well. So encryption itself is not the problem itself. We all can encrypt the data, but the real challenge is managing and protecting the keys, making sure they're rotated and stored securely, and most importantly, all the operations are audited and controlled. So and if we take this to the non-stop side, it's even harder. The applications on the non-stop, they require strict PCI DSS compliance, for example, and that demands strict controls of encryption and TLS keys. If we look at the situation on the non-stop side, keys are used in config files or key passwords, and very often the TLS solutions, they require manual rotation, and of course that creates audit gaps. We have different siloed key stores or different places where key live, and of course that creates complexity and cost. And of course, if you don't have, for example, split knowledge and dual control, so having two key custodians authorizing key operations, you have, of course, insider risk. As also an interesting comment here, secure random is very important for keys, and there is no out-of-the-box random source on the non-stop. And when it comes to HSM, you also should look for HSM integration on all those keys. So what's the solution? And we are happy that we have another groundbreaking innovation for the nonstop space, which is the key management system for HPE Nonstop as part of our Temunio platform. It's building on the system that we have created for protecting the highly sensitive tokenization secrets on our SecureDBS platform. And now it's generalized for further use for other solutions on the Nonstop. So this key management system basically is a single native trust authority that is native to the Nonstop. It is the centralized storage for all the secrets you have on the Nonstop, whether it be the token secrets, the certificates, SSL keys, and so on. And of course, it implements, as many of you know from SecureDBS already, split knowledge dual control, that you authorize the key usage and have a process-based authorization for the actual processes. With this KMS system, there is this transparent integration. That transparent integration is one of our key topics on the Nonstop. We want to make it easy for you. And here again for keys, so you can use it with your own solutions, and also Nonstop SSL, for example, will be possible to actually centralize the keys for those solutions in the key management system. And of course, we have integrated HSM support, wrapping the secrets once more, and we can have secure random on the Nonstop, and even interface to HSM for secure random. And a nice thing, a very important and a very time-consuming thing is certificate renewal in the TLS space and key rotation. So that's something that will be coming soon in the future, and we are very excited about that as well. Right.
Okay, so let's look at one other topic that I also alluded to in the first webinar, kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together to really see the full image. And that's alluding to kind of a unified monitoring and auditing of that overall platform and what's happening there. And of course, with data-centric security, you get the insights, who's actually accessing, requiring that sensitive data, which keys are being used, what is your level of quantum, how far are you on your quantum, post-quantum journey, etc. And if you click one more time, Michael, that's of course a challenge that we want to solve in the existing environment, where often there's siloed tools, especially on the HP Nonstop. It's sometimes mostly perceived as a black box, but it really we want to bring this as a first-class citizen into the overall monitoring and auditing world, to have the full picture from the pieces of the puzzle. And if you click one more, that's exactly what we'll deliver as part of the Temunio platform, a unified monitoring auditing solution. So consolidating all of the audit logs, be it on the HP Nonstop, be it for the data-centric security operations on the open systems or in the cloud. It will integrate, of course, with enterprise SIM solutions. You can forward these events to Apache Kafka, and then you really get that single pane of glass for centralized compliance reporting, and also the telemetry on how these systems are performing. So if we click one more, so to closing this new capabilities section here. As I said before, this is really, we are building towards a bigger vision that we talked about. And this is just the beginning with these key features that we are now releasing with the first Temunio version, and very soon coming with subsequent ones. This is just the beginning of that journey. building towards that vision. There's a lot more to come. I mentioned a couple of things that we are continuing to build towards, and really excited about that first step, but also, of course, all of the additional steps that will follow to help you really unlock value in a secure way and enable business operations without risk. So with that, I hand back to Mirza.
Yeah, thank you very much, Henning and Michael, for walking us through this very exciting stuff from my perspective. Now I'd like to take a step back and try to summarize a couple of things that were mentioned also in the first webinar and this one, and talk about a bit about business value behind. So as you have seen with Tamunio, we are not just adding another security product. We're really making a shift from securing systems and perimeters to protecting data itself, that data-centric security, then from siloed product to unified solution, and from pure security to business enablement as well. And that change delivers sustainable protection while also simplifying how you run security day to day, and unlocks entirely new opportunities. So first of all, what you see on the left side, that also Henning briefly mentioned in the first session. So Tamunio helps simplify and strengthen security by ensuring that sensitive data is protected by default, whether it's customer personal information, payment data, any other sensitive record. Data is protected in all states, at rest, in motion, and even in use, as we have seen now with sovereignty zones, which of course substantially reduces breach exposure and compliance risks. And now also with quantum safe crypto and continuous monitoring, you are protected not just for today's threats, but also tomorrow threats as well. And everything is managed centrally, so teams no longer waste time juggling different encryption, tokenization, and audit tools. Secondly, and that is on the right side, Tamunio makes compliance and sovereignty easier, helping you stay ahead of regulations like PCI DSS, GDPR, or other data protection regulations. Instead of stitching together point solutions, you get unified platform with encryption, access control, MFA, key management, monitoring, and auditing all in one place. That means it's simpler to show auditors what they need, while confidential compute-based zone keeps your data fully under control without cloud providers' access, basically. So the result here is stronger compliance evidence, less manual effort, and at the end also lower audit costs. And finally, and this is, I think, a key, Tamunio isn't just about security. As we mentioned now a couple of times, it's about enabling data-driven innovation. Today, we know that many analytics and AI projects stall because data can't be safely used. It cannot safely leaves its silo. And with Tamunio, you can tokenize or encrypt data for everyday processing and only reveal originals in secure sovereignty zones. That lets you safely train AI models, detect fraud, run analytics, or collaborate with partners without compromising privacy or compliance. So it's security and innovation basically working hand in hand. So if I leave you with just one takeaway, it's this: Tamunio turns security from a blocker into accelerator, creating that balance between security and innovation, making security teams business enablers. You get sustainable compliance, simplified operations, more productive teams, and ability to innovate with confidence, as we mentioned a couple of times. Now, before we conclude, I just want to basically invite you to join us at Comforte Spark 2026, taking place from February 11th to February 13th. It's exclusive gathering that we are organizing of innovators and leaders in data security, which is I would say, a great opportunity for you to connect, exchange insights, and experience also Tamunio in more detail. So if you are interested, you can already register today on tamunio.io/event, where you can also, by the way, on tamunio.io, you can also find a bit more information about Tamunio. And having said that, I think we would now, and we still luckily have time, we would open up for any questions. And if you haven't already, you still can type your questions in the chat window. So let me briefly check. Oh yeah, we had somebody asking a question that we missed in the first session, and I think this is for you, Henning. So how does this impact the roadmap for secure DPS, and what does the future existing tools look like with the release of this? Also, will this be available to customers who host in private cloud or on-prem? I think there are 2 or 3 questions in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, sure. So let's start from the back. So yes, hosting-wise, you can run this in your private cloud on-prem as well. So up to you, however you prefer that. So it's very flexible in that regards. In regards to kind of the roadmap for secure DPS, if we look at what is the how will we continue with that? Of course, we will continue to maintain secure DPS as well, as noted before. The kind of new innovations like the data sovereignty zone, post quantum, etc. Those will become part of the Tomunio platform.
Cool, thank you. We have another one. We currently use secure DPS to make base 24 PCI 4 compliant and could integrate secure DPS without changing the application. Can Tomunio be used to extend protection to the downstream applications in a transparent manner as well?
Yeah, that's the next. Yeah, excellent question. The short answer is yes. And as we noted, I mean, one of the things that we really try to do and continue also extending is making it as easy as possible to integrate data protection into existing applications with various what we call transparent integrations. So where optimally you actually don't have to change the application to add the data protection to that application. So, and absolutely, that's for the downstream applications. That's a logical thing, like following the data, as I alluded to, coming in on the payment system and then moving, like tokenizing it there. It's very logical to then, instead of then de-tokenizing and flowing further to the enterprise, to really keep the data tokenized and step by step move the use of tokenized data out to the whole enterprise.
Great, thank you. We have a couple of more. So there is, by the way, also one comment, and I need to share this with you as well. So nice analogy on data sovereignty. I agree on that as well. So another question, you briefly mentioned the next gen protection services. Can you elaborate what is different to the current secure DPS protection services?
Oh yeah, our existing secure DPS protection services are also built for cloud native consumption. They have been re-architected actually for the foundation to have the new level of isolation in confidential compute. So that includes more scalability and as I pointed out now, with the confidential compute capabilities, and also that meant a change of the underlying transport protocol. Henning briefly alluded to that, gRPC as a modern fast performance, high performance protocol with a lot of nice features. Our APIs will stay in place, but we will get the ability for applications consuming those services also via gRPC as an endpoint for tokenization. So we're very excited about that.
Great, thank you very much. We have just a couple of seconds left, so I just need to speed up. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Wish you all the best. Hope to see you in Frankfurt.